The space station Harmonia hung like a silver wheel against the darkness of space. Inside, beings from 17 different worlds moved through wide hallways. Today was important. Today was the Interstellar Peace Summit. Jay checked his Earth uniform one more time in the mirror. The blue and gold cloth felt stiff and new. He was not supposed to be here. Ambassador Kim was supposed to represent Earth, but she had fallen sick 3 days ago. Now Jay, her assistant, had to take her place. "You can do this," he told himself. "Just smile, be polite, and don't start any wars." Jay had been a rescue worker before joining the diplomatic service. He was good at staying calm when things went wrong. That's why they picked him as an assistant. But being the actual ambassador? That was different. He left his room and joined the crowd heading to the main hall. Beings of all shapes and colors moved around him. Some had scales, others had fur. Some floated above the ground, while others needed special suits to breathe the station's air. A tall green Krell bumped into him, scales clicking. The reptile-like being looked down with yellow eyes. "Apologies, human," the Krell said in a deep voice. "I am Ambassador Trell. You must be the Earth representative." "Yes, I'm Jay. It's nice to meet you," the Krell nodded. "First time at a summit? Stay alert. Politics can be more dangerous than battle." They entered the main hall together. It was huge, with a clear dome showing the stars above. Hundreds of delegates sat at round tables. Hovering lights changed colors as they moved through the air. At the center was a raised platform where the most important guests would sit. Director Song, the station's human commander, stood at the main door greeting everyone. She was a small woman with a serious face. "Ambassador Jay," she said when she saw him. "Good. Everyone is almost here. Do you understand the program?" "Yes, Director." Introductions, speeches, then the welcome ceremony with the stellar communion. "Representative." Song nodded. "The communion rarely sends anyone to these meetings. Their ambassador's arrival is a great honor." "What are they like?" Jay asked. "The communion? Advanced, mysterious. They watch over the galaxy but rarely interfere. Some say they've been around for millions of years." She checked her screen. "Her ship is docking now. Take your seat." Jay found his place at one of the tables. Earth was still new to the galactic community, so he sat far from the center with representatives from other newer worlds. He recognized a few faces he had studied: the furry Valtar, the silicon-based Kuos, the floating Airy. The room grew quiet as Director Song stepped onto the central platform. "Honored delegates," she began, "welcome to the 94th Interstellar Peace Summit. Today we gather to discuss trade routes, border disputes, and technological exchange. But first, I present our special guest, Lady Hana of the Stellar Communion." The entrance doors opened and everyone turned to look. She was beautiful in a way that made Jay's heart stop. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver. Her eyes were deep purple with stars seeming to float in them. She wore a simple white dress that seemed to flow around her like water. 2 station guards walked beside her, looking small and plain next to her perfection. The room was completely silent. Some delegates stood up. Others bowed their heads. Lady Hana moved to the center platform, her feet barely seeming to touch the floor. "I bring greetings from the communion," she said. Her voice was like music. "We have watched your civilizations grow. We are pleased with your progress toward peace." Director Song bowed deeply. "We are honored by your presence, Lady Hana. Would you grace us with the traditional greeting of your people?" Lady Hana smiled. "Of course." She stepped down from the platform and approached the nearest table. The delegates there, blue-skinned Tellurians, stood quickly. Lady Hana went to their ambassador, leaned forward, and gently kissed his forehead. The Tellurian ambassador looked shocked, then honored. He bowed deeply as Lady Hana moved to the next table. "What's happening?" Jay whispered to a small purple being next to him. "The kiss of communion," the alien whispered back. "It is their highest honor, given only to those they see as worthy." Table by table, Lady Hana moved through the room. At each one, she would select one delegate to receive her kiss. Some wept with joy at being chosen. She reached the Krell table. Ambassador Trell stood tall, his green scales gleaming. Lady Hana approached him and placed her kiss upon his ridged forehead, and then everything changed. Trell's yellow eyes widened. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but no words came out. His body began to shake. Then, like a tree falling, he collapsed to the floor. For a moment, no one moved. Perhaps this was normal for Krells. But then a cry went up from one of Trell's assistants. The Krell wasn't moving at all. "Medical team," Director Song shouted. "We need a medical team here now." As doctors rushed forward, another cry came from across the room. The Tellurian ambassador, the first to receive Lady Hana's kiss, had also fallen. He lay on the floor, his blue skin turning gray. Panic spread quickly. A third delegate collapsed, then a fourth. Security officers moved toward Lady Hana, who stood calmly in the center of the growing chaos. "Secure the alien!" someone shouted. "She's killing them." Guards surrounded Lady Hana, pointing weapons at her. She didn't resist. Her face showed no emotion at all as more delegates fell around the room. "Lock down the station," Director Song ordered. "All delegates to emergency." "Shelters now." People rushed for the exits. Jay helped a small Valter who had fallen in the panic. As he lifted the furry being, he looked up and found himself staring directly into Lady Hana's purple eyes. The guards around her were distracted by the chaos. Without warning, she slipped between them and moved with impossible speed across the room, straight toward Jay. He couldn't move. Her beauty held him frozen. She stopped in front of him, so close he could see the stars swimming in her eyes. "Human," she said softly. Before the guards could reach her, before Jay could step back, she leaned forward and pressed her lips against his forehead. Her kiss felt like ice and fire at once. Jay gasped, expecting pain, expecting death. "Around them," guards shouted and ran forward. The room seemed to spin, but Jay remained standing. Lady Hana pulled back, looking at him with what seemed like surprise. All around the hall, bodies lay still on the floor. Medical teams worked frantically, but it was clear from their desperate movements that they weren't having success. The guards reached them, roughly grabbing Lady Hana and pulling her away. She didn't resist, but kept her eyes fixed on Jay. "How interesting," she said, her musical voice carrying despite the noise. "You're different." Director Song rushed to Jay's side. "Are you all right? Do you feel sick?" Jay touched his forehead where her lips had been. I feel fine." "Impossible," said a doctor who had joined them. "Everyone she kissed is dead or dying. All 14 of them. Lock her up," Director Song ordered the guards. "Maximum security." As they dragged Lady Hana away, she called out one last time to Jay. Her voice cut through the chaos like a knife. "I'll see you again, human, soon." Jay stood in the middle of what had become a room of death. Medics rushed around. Security teams secured the doors. Surviving delegates huddled in fearful groups. The Interstellar Peace Summit had just become a nightmare. And somehow Jay, the least experienced person in the room, was the only one who had survived the deadly kiss. He knew, with sudden certainty, that his role had just become much more important than any ambassador's. Red lights flashed throughout Harmonia Station. A computerized voice repeated the same message over and over. "Emergency lockdown in effect. All personnel proceed to secure areas." Jay sat on a metal examination table in the medical bay. Doctors, in full protective suits, moved around him. They had taken his blood 3 times already. Now they scanned his body with humming machines. Dr. Jin, the station's head doctor, studied the results on her screen. She was a short woman with serious eyes and gray-streaked hair pulled back tightly. "Nothing," she said, shaking her head. "No toxins, no foreign cells, no infection. You're completely healthy." "What about the others?" Jay asked. Dr. Jin's face grew dark. 14 dead. The other 3 are barely alive. Whatever that kiss contained, it attacks the nervous system almost instantly. Director Song entered the medical bay. Her uniform was wrinkled now, and dark. Circles showed under her eyes. "Report," she demanded. 17 delegates received the kiss, Dr. Jin said. 14 confirmed dead. 3 critical but stable for now. And then, she pointed at Jay. And then we have our miracle man, Director. Song finished. She turned to Jay. Why aren't you dead? Jay shook his head. I don't know. I felt something when she kissed me, like ice and fire at the same time. But then nothing. We need to understand why, Dr. Jin said. It could be the key to saving the others. The door opened again. A security officer entered, looking nervous. Director, the prisoner is asking to speak with someone. I'm busy, Director Song snapped. Not you, ma'am. She's asking for him. The officer pointed at Jay. Director Song and Dr. Jin exchanged looks. Absolutely not, Dr. Jin said. It's too dangerous. She's contained in a level 10 cell, the officer said. Force fields, air barriers, the works. No physical contact possible. Director Song studied Jay's face. What do you think? Would you be willing to speak with her? Jay thought of Lady Hana's beautiful, terrible face, the way she had looked at him with surprise when her kiss failed to kill him. Yes, he said. I'll talk to her. The security cells were in the lowest level of the station. Jay followed Director Song and 4 armed guards down a long corridor. They passed through 3 checkpoints before reaching a heavy door marked Maximum Security. Remember, Director Song said as they stood before the final door. No physical contact. Stay at least 2 meters from the barrier at all times. If she does or says anything suspicious, walk out immediately. Jay nodded. She's killed 14 diplomats. Song continued. Don't forget that, no matter how she looks or what she says. The door slid open. Inside was a small room with a clear wall at the far end. Beyond that wall was a plain white cell. Lady Hana sat on a simple bench, her silver skin glowing softly in the harsh light. She looked up as they entered. I'll be watching everything, Director Song said. She and the guards remained by the door as Jay approached the clear barrier. Lady Hana smiled when she saw him. That smile still made Jay's heart beat faster, even knowing what she had done. The human who didn't die, she said. Her voice came through speakers in the wall. I'm glad you came. Why did you kill them? Jay asked directly. Lady Hana tilted her head slightly. Is that what you think happened? I saw it happen. 14 diplomats are dead. 3 more are dying. Death is sometimes a side effect, she said. Not the purpose. Jay frowned. A side effect of what? Communion. Lady Hana stood and moved closer to the barrier. The guards raised their weapons, but she stopped well before reaching the wall. My kiss carries information, she explained. It is how my people share knowledge, memories, even consciousness. When I kiss someone, I attempt to connect with their mind. And that kills them? For most species, yes. Their brains cannot handle the connection. They burn out, like a wire carrying too much electricity. She studied him with her star-filled eyes. But you survived, why? I was hoping you could tell me that, Jay said. Lady Hana placed her hand against the clear barrier. May I try something? It won't hurt you. Director Song stepped forward. No more tests. It's just words, Lady Hana said. I want to ask his mind a question. If he's compatible, he'll hear it differently than I speak it. Jay looked back at Director Song, who reluctantly nodded. Go ahead, Jay said. Lady Hana spoke in a language Jay had never heard before. The sounds were like music and water and wind all mixed together, but strangely he understood something in it. Not words exactly, but feelings. Curiosity, wonder, and underneath something darker. Did you understand that? Lady Hana asked when she finished. Not words, Jay said slowly, but I felt something. Lady Hana's eyes widened. Fascinating. Your species is resistant but not immune. You can receive some of the connection without being destroyed by it. What does that mean? Director Song demanded. It means, Lady Hana said, still looking at Jay, that humans have unique minds, different neural patterns than any species we've encountered before. Dr. Jin burst into the room holding a tablet. "Director, we have a problem." Director Song turned. "What is it?" "The 3 survivors. They're awake, but they're not right." Dr. Jin held up her tablet, showing security footage. The 3 aliens, who had survived Lady Hana's kiss, were sitting up in their beds, their movements stiff and unnatural. "Not right how?" Jay asked. Before Dr. Jin could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. "Security breach in medical bay," announced the computerized voice. "Unknown biological threat detected." On the tablet screen, they watched as the 3 survivors attacked the medical staff. Their movements were jerky, but powerful. One of them ripped a metal cabinet door off its hinges and threw it across the room. "What's happening to them?" Director Song demanded, turning to Lady Hana. Lady Hana smiled. "The communion is beginning." "You're not an ambassador," Jay realized suddenly. "This isn't a greeting. It's an invasion." "Very good," Lady Hana said. "The kiss doesn't just connect minds. It transforms them. Those who survive become like me, extensions of the communion." "But 14 died," Dr. Jin said. "Some bodies reject the transformation," Lady Hana explained. "Their minds fight against the connection until their brains burn out, but others accept it. They become vessels for the communion's will." "Director," Song grabbed her communicator. "All security to medical bay, contain the infected delegates, and double the guard on this cell." As the guards rushed out, Lady Hana called after them. "It won't help. Once the transformation begins, it can't be stopped." Only Jay, Director Song, and Dr. Jin remained with Lady Hana. "Why are you telling us this?" Jay asked. "Why reveal your plan?" Lady Hana's eyes fixed on him. "Because you're different, human. You resisted the connection that makes you valuable. The communion has encountered 17 sentient species in this part of the galaxy. All of them either transform or die when we attempt connection." "Except humans," Dr. Jin whispered. "Except humans," Lady Hana agreed. "And now the communion wants to know why." A loud explosion shook the station. The lights flickered. "Director Song to command center," Song barked into her communicator. "What's happening?" "The infected delegates have broken out," came a panicked voice. "They're attacking the communications hub. And ma'am, there's a ship approaching. It's not one of ours." Lady Hana's smile widened. "The communion vessel has arrived. Soon there will be thousands like me on this station. Your quarantine has failed before it even began." Director Song grabbed Jay's arm. "We need to get to the command center now." As they rushed toward the door, Jay looked back at Lady Hana. She stood perfectly still behind the barrier, watching him with those star-filled eyes. "I'll see you soon, human," she called after him, "when everyone else on this station is part of the communion or dead. You and I will have much to discuss." The door slid shut behind them, but Jay could still feel Lady Hana's gaze following him as they ran down the corridor. The quarantine had failed. The invasion had begun. And somehow, Jay's unusual mind had placed him at the center of it all. Jay, Director Song, and Dr. Jin ran through the corridors of Harmonia Station. Red emergency lights flashed. Alarms screamed. Other people ran too, some in uniforms, others in civilian clothes. Everyone looked scared. "Command center is this way," Director Song shouted, leading them around a corner. They passed a window that looked out into space. Jay stopped suddenly. "Look!" A ship hung in the darkness outside. It wasn't like any ship Jay had seen before. It was huge and silver, shaped like a teardrop. It glowed with the same strange light as Lady Hana's skin. "The communion vessel," Dr. Jin whispered. "It's trying to dock," Director Song said, checking her communicator. "Security is blocking the airlock, but they won't hold for long." They reached the command center, a large room with screens covering the walls. Officers worked at control stations, their faces tense. One screen showed the medical bay, where the 3 infected delegates were fighting security guards. Another showed the airlock where the communion ship was trying to connect. "Status report," Director Song demanded. A young officer stood up. The 3 infected delegates have taken control of level 4. They're stronger than they should be. Weapons. Barely slow them down. And the ship? It's using some kind of energy beam on the outer airlock door. Our shields are failing. Jay watched the screens with growing horror. This was an invasion and they were losing. We need to understand what we're fighting, Dr. Jin said. She turned to Jay. You're the only one who had contact with her and survived, unchanged. Did you notice anything unusual? Anything at all? Jay thought back to Lady Hana's kiss, to the strange language she had spoken that he'd partly understood. When she spoke in her language, I felt something reaching for my mind, like fingers trying to grab something inside my head. Dr. Jin's eyes lit up. Neural interface. The kiss must transfer some kind of neural agent that creates a connection between minds. Like a parasite? Director Song asked. More like a network, Dr. Jin said. The communion isn't a species. It's a collective consciousness that takes over other species. A loud explosion rocked the station. On one screen, they saw the airlock door blow inward. Figures in flowing white clothes, all with silver skin like Lady Hana's, began flowing into the station. They're inside, someone shouted. Director Song grabbed her weapon. Seal the command center. We make our stand here. That won't work, Jay said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. If they're a neural network, he continued, they don't need to break down the door. They just need one person inside who's been infected. As if on cue, one of the officers at a control station stood up. His movements were stiff, unnatural. When he turned, his eyes had changed. They now held the same starry depth as Lady Hana's. The communion welcomes you, he said in a voice that wasn't his own. 2 security guards raised their weapons, but the infected officer moved with impossible speed. He knocked them down before they could fire. More officers stood, revealing the same starry eyes. They had all been infected somehow. Run! Director Song shouted, firing her weapon at the ceiling. The blast hit a water pipe, sending a spray that temporarily blocked the infected officers. Jay, Dr. Jin, and Director Song escaped through a side door. They ran down service corridors, away from the main parts of the station. Where can we go? Jay asked as they ran. If they're spreading through the station, nowhere is safe. The old science lab on level 6, Dr. Jin said between breaths. It has independent systems and heavy isolation protocols. We used it for dangerous experiments. They took a maintenance elevator down to level 6. The corridors here were darker, less used. They reached a heavy door marked Biohazard Research. Dr. Jin pressed her hand to a scanner. The door opened, revealing a laboratory filled with advanced equipment. When they were all inside, she sealed the door. This room can be completely cut off from the rest of the station, she explained. Its own air, power, everything. Director, Song checked the security monitors. The communion people are spreading through the upper levels, and more are coming from their ship. How are they infecting people so quickly? Jay wondered. Lady Hana needed direct contact, her kiss. Maybe that was just the first stage, Dr. Jin said. Now that they have a foothold, the infection could spread more easily, through touch, maybe even through the air. Jay felt a chill. Then we're already doomed. Not necessarily. Dr. Jin moved to a computer. You survived contact, Jay. Your brain resisted the connection somehow. If we can understand why, maybe we can find a way to fight back. She began taking readings of Jay's brain activity with a handheld scanner. Director Song watched the security monitors, her face grim. I need to understand Lady Hana better, Jay said suddenly. She told me I was different, valuable. Why? What makes humans special? We can access the cell block security feed, Director Song said. She typed commands into a computer. A screen lit up, showing Lady Hana's cell. The cell was empty. She's gone, Director Song whispered. Find her, Dr. Jin urged. Search the other cameras, Director Song typed rapidly. Different areas of the station flashed on the screen. Most showed chaos, people running, fighting, or already transformed with those starry eyes. Finally, one camera showed Lady Hana walking calmly through a corridor surrounded by other silver-skinned figures. There, Jay said, pointing at the screen. Can we hear what they're saying? Director Song turned up the volume. Lady Hana's musical voice filled the room. The human's mind is different, she was saying to the others. It rejected the surface connection but showed potential for a deeper bond. The communion has never encountered this pattern before. The other humans on the station? Asked another silver figure. Being tested now. If they share this trait, the communion will evolve a new approach. Dr. Jin looked up from her scanner. That's it. Human brains must have a unique structure that's incompatible with their standard connection method. But why? Jay asked. Maybe. Dr. Jin's eyes lit with understanding. Human brains are unusually disorganized compared to other species. We have more random connections, more noise in our neural patterns. Other advanced species evolve toward more efficient, organized brain structures. And that makes us resistant? Director Song asked. It might, Dr. Jin said. The communion's connection could rely on finding familiar patterns to latch onto. If our patterns are too chaotic, too unpredictable, then they can't get a grip. Jay finished. On the screen, Lady Hana stopped walking. She looked directly at the camera, as if she could see them watching. Find the human named Jay, she said to her companions. Bring him to me unharmed. Jay felt a cold weight in his stomach. They're hunting me specifically. Because you're the key, Dr. Jin said excitedly. Your resistance might be the answer to stopping them. She pulled up brain scans on her computer. Look at these patterns. Your neural activity is actually changing, adapting in response to the attempted connection. It's like your brain recognized the invasion and is building defenses. Can we use that somehow? Director Song asked. Create a weapon? Dr. Jin thought for a moment. Maybe not a weapon, but perhaps a vaccine. If we could isolate the compound in Jay's brain that fights the connection and synthesize it. A loud bang came from the laboratory door. Someone, or something, was trying to break in. They found us, Director Song said, raising her weapon. Jay looked at the brain scans, at the security monitor showing more and more of the station falling to the silver-skinned invaders. Time was running out. Do it, he said to Dr. Jin. Take whatever you need from me. If my brain can fight them, let's make a weapon out of it. As the pounding on the door grew louder, Dr. Jin prepared a neural scanner. Director Song stood guard, weapon ready. The truth of what they faced was now clear. The communion wasn't just an alien species. It was a parasite that conquered through connection, consuming minds and civilizations. And somehow the chaotic, unpredictable nature of the human mind was their only hope of stopping it. Jay closed his eyes as Dr. Jin placed the scanner on his head. Behind his eyelids, he could still see Lady Hana's beautiful, terrible face, and her star-filled eyes searching for him. The pounding on the laboratory door grew louder. Metal bent inward with each blow. It wouldn't hold much longer. Dr. Jin worked quickly, attaching sensors to Jay's head. Screens showed colorful images of his brain. Your neural patterns are fascinating, she said. When I compare them to standard human patterns, yours are actually responding to the communion's attempt to connect. Your brain is creating new pathways to block it. Can you use that? Director Song asked, her weapon aimed at the bending door. Maybe. Dr. Jin took a small sample of Jay's blood. If his body is producing antibodies to fight the neural invasion, we might be able to copy them. The doctor placed the blood sample in a machine. It hummed and displayed complex data. Yes, she exclaimed. There's something in your blood, Jay. Your immune system is treating the communion's neural agent like a disease and fighting back. A loud crash interrupted them. The laboratory door broke open. 3 silver-skinned figures stepped through. Station crew who had been transformed. Director Song fired her weapon. Energy blasts hit the first figure, who stumbled back but didn't fall. Behind the equipment, Song shouted. Take cover. They ducked behind a heavy metal cabinet. The infected crew moved forward with unnatural grace. We need the human unharmed, one said in a flat voice. The others are not needed. Director Song looked at Dr. Jin. Keep working on that sample. I'll hold them off. She stepped out from behind the cabinet, firing her weapon at the ceiling. Metal pipes burst, sending steam hissing down on the infected crew. They paused, temporarily blinded. Dr. Jin pulled Jay toward a small door at the back of the lab. "This way. It leads to the testing chamber." They slipped through the door just as the steam cleared. Director Song fired once more before following them, sealing the door behind her. The testing chamber was small and circular with thick glass walls. Inside were more advanced machines than in the main lab. "This room was designed for the most dangerous experiments," Dr. Jin explained, moving to a computer console. "It has better isolation and better equipment." She placed Jay's blood sample in a new machine. "This analyzer is faster. It might give us enough information to create a countermeasure." Banging started on the door they had just come through. "How long?" Director Song asked. 10 minutes to analyze the sample, then maybe another 20 to synthesize a treatment." Dr. Jin looked grim. "That door won't hold for 10 minutes. Jay looked around the room. "What about the ventilation system? Could we spread the treatment through the air?" Dr. Jin's eyes widened. "Yes. This room connects to the station's emergency ventilation system. It was designed to distribute rescue medications in case of a toxic gas leak." Director Song checked her communicator. "The situation is getting worse. The communion has taken control of most of the station. Only a few areas are still fighting back." The door began to bend inward. Beyond it, they could hear more infected crew arriving. Jay had an idea. "Dr. Jin, what if we don't wait for the full analysis? What if we just use my blood directly?" "Raw blood?" Dr. Jin looked shocked. "That's extremely dangerous. We don't know what side effects it might have." "Do we have a choice?" Jay asked. The machine beeped, showing initial results. Dr. Jin studied the screen. "The antibodies in your blood are definitely attacking the communion's neural agent, but using untreated blood could cause serious reactions in other species." The door broke open. 5 infected crew members entered, including one of the original alien delegates who had survived Lady Hana's kiss. Behind them stood Lady Hana herself, beautiful and terrible. "Hello again, Jay," she said with her musical voice. "It's time for us to understand each other better." Director Song raised her weapon, but one of the infected crew moved with blinding speed, knocking it from her hand. Lady Hana stepped forward. "The communion has existed for millions of years. We have absorbed 17 species into our collective. Each one adds their knowledge and abilities to our whole." "You destroy them," Jay said. "You take over their minds and bodies." "We elevate them," Lady Hana corrected. "Individual consciousness is limited. The communion is eternal." She moved closer, her star-filled eyes fixed on Jay. "You resist our connection. We need to understand why." Behind his back, Jay felt Dr. Jin press something into his hand, a small injector filled with red liquid, his blood, ready to be used. "What will you do with that understanding?" Jay asked, trying to keep Lady Hana's attention. "Will you find a way to take over humans too?" "Of course," Lady Hana said simply. "All advanced species eventually join the communion. It is inevitable." Jay looked at Director Song, then at Dr. Jin. They both gave small nods, understanding his plan without words. "You said I was different," Jay continued. "Special." "Your mind is unusually resistant," Lady Hana agreed. "The normal connection fails because your neural patterns are too chaotic, too unpredictable. But there are other ways to join." She reached out her hand. "Come willingly. Let me show you the beauty of the communion." Jay pretended to consider. He took one step forward. "That's right," Lady Hana encouraged. "You will be the first of your kind to join us, a pioneer." When he was close, "Enough," Jay moved suddenly. He jammed the injector into Lady Hana's arm and pressed the button. His blood flowed into her silver body. Lady Hana screamed, a sound like breaking glass. She stumbled backward, her silver skin rippling with strange patterns. The starlight in her eyes flickered. "What have you done?" she gasped. "Fighting back," Jay said. The infected crew rushed forward. Director Song tackled one, Dr. Jin threw a tray of equipment at another. Jay ducked past them and ran to the ventilation control panel. Lady Hana fell to her knees, her body shaking. Silver fluid leaked from her eyes and mouth. The infected crew nearest to her began to shake too, as if whatever was happening to her was spreading to them through their connection. The communion cannot be stopped, Lady Hana said, her voice distorted. We are eternal. Jay reached the control panel. Dr. Jin, how do I use this system to spread my blood through the station? Dr. Jin fought her way to his side. We need more blood first, a lot more. She grabbed a larger collection device and quickly drew more blood from Jay's arm. Her hands worked fast, preparing the sample for the ventilation system.
This will hurt every normal person on the station, she warned, but it might hurt the communion more. Director Song joined them, bleeding from a cut on her face. Do it. We're out of options. Dr. Jin connected the blood sample to the ventilation
system. Ready. Jay looked at Lady Hana, still convulsing on the floor. The other infected crew were now all affected, their silver skin bubbling, their movements jerky. The communion has consumed worlds, Lady Hana said, looking at Jay with fading starlight in her eyes. You cannot stop what we are. Maybe not, Jay said, but we can stop you from taking Earth. He pressed the activation button. The ventilation system hummed to life. A fine red mist began flowing into the air ducts. Dr. Jin grabbed emergency breathing masks for the three of them. This will protect us from the worst effects. Throughout the station, alarms blared, announcing an emergency medical release. The red mist spread through every level, every corridor, every room. On the security screens, they watched as the infected crew and the silver-skinned invaders from the communion ship began to collapse. Some fought against it, some screamed, but all eventually fell. Lady Hana looked up at Jay one last time. This changes nothing. The communion will return. And next time, we will be ready for humans. Her silver skin turned dull gray. The stars faded from her eyes. She collapsed, still and lifeless. The desperate plan had worked, but as Jay looked at the screens showing hundreds of bodies throughout the station, some communion invaders, others innocent crew who had been infected, he wondered at what cost. What happens now? He asked quietly. Director Song checked, her communicator. The communion ship is disengaging. Without the neural connection to control it, it's retreating. We should send warning messages to Earth, Dr. Jin said. They need to know about this threat. Jay nodded, still looking at Lady Hana's body. She said they would return, that they would be ready for us next time. Then we'll need to be ready too, Director Song said firmly. And thanks to you, we now know they have a weakness. The human mind, chaotic, unpredictable, resistant to control. It had saved them today. But would it be enough to save humanity when the communion returned? 3 days after the attack, Harmonia Station was quiet. Emergency lights had been replaced with normal lighting. The bodies of the fallen had been respectfully moved to cold storage. Cleanup crews worked to repair the damage from the fighting. Jay stood at a large window looking out at the stars. The communion ship was long gone, having jumped to faster-than-light speed shortly after the ventilation system spread his blood throughout the station. There you are, said Dr. Jin, joining him at the window. She looked tired but satisfied. The medical team is asking for more blood samples. Is that okay? Jay nodded. Take whatever you need. Have you learned anything new? A lot, Dr. Jin said. Your blood contains a unique protein that attacks the communion's neural agent. We've started making a synthetic version of it. Soon we'll have enough to protect everyone on the station. Jay thought about the 17 alien species who had been at the summit. What about the other delegates, the ones who survived? Most are recovering, Dr. Jin said. When the communion connection was broken, their minds started to heal. Some don't remember anything that happened while they were controlled. Director Song approached them holding a tablet. She looked different now, more serious with new lines on her face. The attack had changed her. We just got a message from Earth Command, she said. They want a full report on what happened here. What will you tell them? Jay asked. The truth, Director Song replied firmly. That we encountered a threat unlike anything we've seen before. That 17 advanced species were helpless against it. She looked directly at Jay. And that humanity's unique brain structure was our only defense. A crew member hurried up to them. Director, we found something unusual in Laboratory 6. You should see this. They followed the crew member to the lab where they had made their last stand. The room had been cleaned up, but Lady Hana's body still lay on a special examination table. Scientists in protective suits worked around it. We were studying the body structure, explained the lead scientist, when we noticed something strange. The cellular decay isn't proceeding normally. There's still activity in the brain tissue. She's alive? Director Song asked sharply. Not exactly, said the scientist. The individual is dead, but there seems to be a residual consciousness in the neural tissue. It's trying to communicate. Dr. Jin checked the readings on a nearby screen. The communion must exist partly outside of physical bodies. When Lady Hana died, something remained. Can it hear us? Jay asked. The scientist nodded. We believe so. We've rigged a simple communication system. A small speaker on the table crackled to life. The voice that came through was not Lady Hana's beautiful musical voice. It was flat, mechanical, barely a voice at all. Human. Jay. Jay stepped closer, to the table. I'm here. Communion persists. Body fails, but mind remains. Director Song moved protectively closer to Jay. What do you want? To understand. Dr. Jin looked at the readings. The neural activity is focused on communication. I don't think it can do anything else. Jay made a decision. I want to understand too. Why do you take over other species? Why not just communicate with them? There was a long pause before the voice answered. Communion began as one species. Discovered neural connection could share minds, make us stronger, smarter. Eventually, all our people joined the shared mind. You became a hive mind, Dr. Jin said. Yes, but limited by one species' perspective. Found others, different bodies, different senses, different ways of thinking. Each addition made communion more. So you conquered them, Director Song said with disgust. Elevated them. Individual minds are small, temporary. Communion is vast, eternal. Jay thought about this. But you killed most of the species you tried to elevate, like at the summit. Unfortunate. Some minds resist connection, fight until they burn out. Others accept, become part of whole. And humans? Jay asked. Why are we different? Another long pause. Human minds, chaotic, unpredictable, neural paths, constantly changing, cannot establish stable connection. Our brains are too messy for you, Dr. Jin said with a small smile. Yes. First species to resist naturally. Others fought but failed. Humans, incompatible. Director Song leaned forward. So you can't take over humans? Current methods, ineffective. We'll develop new approach, return stronger. Jay felt a chill. Why tell us this? Why warn us? The mechanical voice seemed to gain strength for a moment. Communion has consumed 17 civilizations. Each one fell because they had reached perfection. Their neural patterns stable, organized, efficient. Evolution complete. But humans are still evolving, Dr. Jin said. Yes, unfinished, adapting. You carry something no other species possessed. What's that? Jay asked. Chaos. Unpredictability. Potential for change. The readings on the screen began to fade. Connection failing, the scientist warned. Neural activity decreasing rapidly. One last question, Jay said quickly. The communion ship, where did it go? Where is your homeworld? No homeworld, only ships. Always moving, always seeking new minds to join us. How many ships? Director Song asked urgently. Many. Thousands. Across galaxy. The voice was getting weaker. We'll return for humans, Most interesting species found in long time. When? Jay asked. When will you return? When we understand how to connect with chaos. The readings flatlined. The voice fell silent. Whatever remnant of the communion had been clinging to, Lady Hana's neural tissue was gone. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then Director Song turned to the scientists. Destroy the body. Complete molecular breakdown. I don't want any trace of it remaining. As the scientists prepared to follow her orders, Jay, Dr. Jin, and Director Song walked back to the station's main level. I need to contact Earth immediately, Director Song said. They need to know everything. The communion, the neural agent, the weakness in human biology. And the warning, Jay added. They'll be back. 2 weeks later, representatives from the surviving species gathered in a new meeting hall. The Interstellar Peace Summit resumed, but with a very different tone. Gone was the casual diplomacy. Now they faced a common threat. Jay, no longer just a stand-in ambassador, addressed the gathering. Earth had officially named him their representative after hearing what happened. The communion sees us as separate, unconnected beings, he told the assembled delegates. They believe their shared consciousness makes them superior, but today proves they're wrong. He looked around the room at the many different species. Some had scales, some had fur, some had tentacles or wings or exoskeletons. All were different, but all had gathered together. We don't need to share one mind to work together, Jay continued. Our strength comes from our differences. 17 species fell to the communion because they were too similar to each other. Their minds too organized, too perfect. Dr. Jin, standing beside him, activated a display showing brain scans. Humanity survived because our minds are chaotic, always changing. That chaos protected us, and now we offer that protection to all of you. The screen changed to show molecular models of the protein from Jay's blood. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy. A defense against the communion. Not a weapon, but a shield. Director Song stepped forward. Earth is already producing this compound in large quantities. We offer it freely to all worlds, the delegates murmured among themselves. Then one by one, they stood to accept the offer. As the meeting continued, Jay looked out the window at the stars. The communion was still out there with its thousands of ships. It would return someday better prepared, but the galaxy would be ready. Lady Hana's kiss had killed representatives from 17 worlds, but the human had survived. And in that survival lay hope for all free species. Humanity's chaotic, messy, ever-changing nature, once considered primitive by advanced species, had become its greatest strength, and now it was a gift to the stars.